Alright guys, welcome to the LordKnightmon X gameplay guide. Here, one of probably the best decks of the format coming in, probably the strongest deck if not, because this archetype or this deck is just absolutely overloaded with so many tools, which I'm personally pretty excited to showcase you guys. And we're going to be trying to compete against the higher tier level decks, so it's going to be a little bit more competitive with this gameplay guide as well. And the first matchup we're facing off against is right off the bat Purple Hybrid. Let's talk about our mulligan hand first. We definitely want to mulligan that because we saw a bunch of level 6s, and we're actually be playing the purple sort of like toolbox based engine with the whole Cerberus X Antibody package with Dober X as well. And I know many of you guys are also LordKnightmon fans, or also fans of the black base with LordKnightmon and LordKnightmon together, which is a very completely different deck. So if you guys want to watch that and see me cover that on the channel as well, let me know in the comments down below, subscribe and all that kind of stuff. But for those who are deluxe members, I just want to give a quick shout out to you guys, because you guys would know that I am very familiar with this base package, because I played this base package a lot when I was playing Leviamon extensively back then. Back in BT15, 16 and such, I've been playing this base package, so I'm very familiar with it, and I feel very confident with it as well. And the whole idea with this X Antibody Cerberus Dober package is that you can draw and cycle cards so quickly that you can set up your trash at the same time, and you can just very easily turbo all the way to your level 6 in one go, because you gain a lot of memory at the same time while you're going up. And one of the main key factors is thanks to Proto Form. So here against Purple Hybrid, it's going to be a bit of a rush game. So here we're actually checked into a Black God of Uber, and I want to explain this for a quick second, because I know that they wanted to trash their Velgormon to set up and trash, because that's the most important key combo that they're trying to get into. But for that part, we weren't exactly sure how to resolve it, because I know Black God battles first and it comes on play. We're not too sure if Black God gets the on play effect first to bottom deck their Digimon, or do they get to trash first? So the opponent just end up trashing a Rival's Barrage. I know they want to go for Velgormon for sure. But the thing is, we can bomb deck the Velgormon and it just becomes sort of GG over for their first line of combo. But we just went with turn player priority with the on deletion instead for that. We're not entirely sure if we actually resolved that correctly, so let me know in the comments down below just for confirmation. But as we continue with the game, you guys can see we're just playing out so quickly. And into Cerberus X. Cerberus X is to play out a level 3 back. And ideally against this matchup, we want to go for Ghazi. And with our level 3s, we have a lot to work with. We can work with either Goblimon to continue to build stacks, or we can play our Floodgates, as you guys can see, with both Psychmon and Ghazi. Depending on the matchup, we can utilize what we need. And Ghazi especially is good here because they do tend to gain memory. They probably tend to have option cards such as Jack Raid, Memory Boost, and so on. And even the Gabu here to stop them from gaining that kind of memory is going to be really, really helpful for us to slow them down, essentially. And I really like the Anubis. It's a one-off tech, of course, because it's the only one-off card. But I decided to go into early because I want to be able to float bodies. And by going as wide as possible and potentially go for a one-shot combo, this is the best chance of winning out of nowhere for us. And it also lets us build into our second stack very effectively. So by doing that, because my idea is to then go for that, and then I can potentially go for an OTK combo out of nowhere. But you guys can see how strong this Velgormon package is. Despite us being all purple as well, they can just delete and remove everything and clear board. But that's totally okay, as long as we don't threaten our Anubis, or as long as we have lower level bodies and setup in this matchup, we should be safe in most cases, because Velgormon can really only just delete the lowest level. And if we go wide enough, with different levels, most importantly, we can sort of keep our top end safe. And one of the ideas with Purple Hybrid is they're going to try to chip us and rush us down. We're okay with them chipping us down because it potentially helps us give us Digimon that we can work with in the trash for later on, or they can check into things like Purple Memory Boost, Wisdom Training, which you guys can see, which is going to give us value and we can utilize it. And the whole idea is we might want to chip them down sometimes, but not all the time. We really want to think twice before attacking into them, because they can gain option cards, they can gain tamers, they can get boosts and whatnot, and there's a lot of surprises out there, and we don't want to end up giving them too much value. And in this board state, it seems like we're actually a little bit in control. Even though we're low in security, I know in this particular turn, I can actually potentially OTK them and finish it off. So I'm just trying to see if I can resolve my correct pieces and sequence it correctly, because again, we're gaining a lot of memory. Anubis being able to play stuff back constantly is just absolutely insane. So I decided to go for Dober X on play, give it the retaliation, but also anticipating that I know I'm going to be playing another Digimon afterwards, so I can gain the memory back with its inherited effect. So I'm going to go ahead and use Wisdom Training, probably looking to go into the Cerberus so I can grab something back as well on the way. But the whole idea of playing that particular Cerberus is we can give something Rush when we play something with its inheritable, which we will be doing that. So then we can actually make for that extra attack. Notice how I'm always trying to prioritize to put the Gazi out, because the only thing that can really kind of stop us and suddenly like switch the turn over is something like a Jack Raid in their security. So aside from that, if they have bombs, it is what it is, but that's totally fine, because that proto form, if they ever choose to try to like delete our big stacks, as long as I have proto form underneath, we can always kind of like recover it, and we can also grab a piece back. And by recovering is really crucial, because you know that means they have to make one extra attack on us. And the other reason why I'm not super worried is because I don't see Koichis on there, meaning that they have to digivolve on top of their tamers for additional regular cost instead of reduction. Knowing that they're probably going to start their turn at 5 memory, at least thanks to Matt and Double AG, we're going to go ahead and try to like alliance and checks. And that's what I talked about and meant earlier with the whole Jack Raid situation. I want to keep the Gazi on the board because of that. And I'm going to continue to attack. But this is the moment I realize I actually messed up a little bit. Oh, well, pretty big mess up actually. If you guys noticed earlier, I actually had a second LordKnightmon on my hand. And if I didn't trash it, I could have trashed any other card but that particular card. I could have easily went into LordKnight with Cerberus on top of Cerberus X for 3 memory, and then I could have attacked and unsuspended and finished it off, assuming there were no bombs in there. So that was a huge mess up on my part. Things were going so well, and I know, like I said, that I'm very familiar with this, but I'm still a little bit not familiar with the LordKnightmon exactly. It's really just like new to me, so we're just like, you know, this is first time playing this matchup. It's actually first time I'm picking up this deck as well, although I'm very familiar with the lower end. But yeah, that was definitely a huge mistake, and that was totally my bad. Because things can go completely south from here, and we could potentially just lose this because of that. But I'm still fairly confident despite sitting in a very good position, because I'm glad that we didn't check into any like Koichi tamers or any additional tamers or anything that's like a boost to give them extra resources, because if they do, all they really need to do is like make 3 swings separately and they'll finish us off. And the LordKnightmon deck is actually not very defensive at all. It's very offensive heavy, very combo, very linear in a sense where you're just climbing up your stack and trying to like, you know, cycle through your combos like very, very quickly and try to go for those flexible, like kind of, it's almost like a glass cannon deck. Because right here I have no blocker, I don't play any aces in particular, and the only really source of defense is the regular LordKnightmon, which again is biting me in the butt because I should have kept it in my hand, because then I could at least sort of like redirect attacks as well. But again, Gazi is really great because it stops the Gabu from, you know, gaining memory at the start of main, but they wouldn't gain it anyways because they kind of like hard pushed it out with Louis. So they do gain that memory with Louis, but again, like I mentioned, they're gonna have to pay 3 to go on top of any Dustmon, on top of the Mat, on top of the AG. Unless if they have like enough cards to like Jack Raid and Mill all at the same time, that would be good for them. But also, it doesn't seem like they have a Velgramon to work with in the trash either at this moment, so that could really stop them. But of course, I mean, they can always just swing with the Gabu and then have it deleted, so then they can trash a card. So if they have a Velgar in their hand, they would just trash it off that instead. But again, we're stopping their Jack Raids, so they can't gain memory either. And not to mention, they only really have like 10 cards in trash, so they're not going to be able to gain too much value out of it, so I'm not super concerned about it. And you guys can see, yeah, they want to swing over Agazi because they do want to get rid of it. Then they're going to go for the Gabu hit here, and it's not really going to do them too much, because with that 1 memory, they're essentially going to be passing turn afterwards, even with that Jack Raid. Again, they're going to have to find a way to play another Jack Raid, to at least go into another Duskmon, and then maybe Velgramon to delete and clear our board. But again, we're really wide at this point, so it's very difficult. So in the end, they're going to go for this Merva play to Digicross to go wide. But also, when it comes to the purple hybrid deck, not all decks really have like Retail plus blocker, or not. There's not a lot of Digimon in the trash that they have in the moment that has Retail. They don't even have any actually, as a matter of fact. So not going to be able to gain blocker to stop us from attacking. But even assuming so that they do have, we can, with this kind of board, we're just in such a good position. So before swing, there's always surprises that can happen. So I'm just trying to play this the best, safest way as possible. Although we could just like hit, finish it off, and then Merva will block or not, it's whatever. But we never know. There could be a bomb that can change everything. They could be playing something. We don't know. So let's just try to go for the most optimal, safest route to try to attempt to delete absolutely everything, board clear with it alongside, and then attack afterwards for the safest method. So yeah, we're gaining a lot of memory back, we're drawing a lot of cards back as well, and we can finish it off just like that. So for the next match, we're going to be facing off against Imperial, which is probably still a very, very strong deck, especially in the previous format that was just off from EX7 and BT17. Like, being one of the best decks, we're going to up the challenge and see how it faces in this kind of matchup. It can really go either way, I feel like, because if they're able to see their tamers, they can potentially go really, really crazy with the combos, strip sources, gain memory, make a bunch of checks, and it's also dangerous for us because it's very similar to the purple hybrid matchup in the sense where if we try to chip away at their security, we can end up giving them value, which is not the greatest because they could find like Davis Kens, primogenitors, or potential pieces for them, and it's just going to be very difficult for us then because we're just helping them achieve their win condition a little bit faster. But therefore, it's very similar, like I mentioned, where compared to the purple hybrid matchup, we might want to try to build our board to the point where we can go for a one-shot OTK. But at times it's kind of hard, so we're gonna have to see as we go and evaluate the whole board state and the game state. So here I decided to hard pass, knowing that they set at 3 anyways with Davis and not evil into the Dobro X in the back, is because I really value the extra draw off of the effect. I want to go for the proto form play next turn to draw for Digivolve, draw and trash one, and then draw another off Sunomon, which is very important in this deck because sometimes when it comes to this deck, aside from just trying to establish your boosts early in the stages and search, you may not find them. And the really important thing is to actually push out and play outside early because as you climb up your 3, 4s, 5s, and 6s, you're actually drawing a lot of cards and you need to trash cards at the same time so you can draw additional cards thanks to the Sunomon egg. And as you can see, Cerberus X provides that purpose as well at the same time, and often enough you might have to kind of like gamble a little bit to sort of find your pieces as you go up, but there's no excuse. You just have to actually play outside and start cycling because otherwise you can't afford to slow down and wait and greed too much unless you really have a lot of boosts to work with in your hand, like searching cards to do it a little bit by bit to find your optimal pieces that way. But if you don't, you just have to go out just like exactly what I just did and go there. And here's a very specific reason why I think Lord Knight X is just incredibly good. Not only has collision, piercing, alliance, and extra DP buffs, the fact that it can actually stop that Wormmon from digivolving prevents them from DNA. And not only that, I purposely noticed that I had Ghazi, which I do play quite a handful of in the deck, is to make sure that by putting it down there during that particular pivotal turn, it stops them from DNA digivolving at all, because even though they might have a secondary rookie with the end of turn, I noticed that there's a promo Vmon that doesn't give them the end of turn DNA. And even if they do hard play 1 for 3 cost and then evo into a Stingmon and then have the XV to sort of like DNA, I will prevent them from gaining the memory to retain turn as well. So that is actually really, really important, crucial pivot point right there. Probably because from a lot of experience of me playing Imperial myself, so I kind of understood those kind of ins and outs. But that's sort of specifically why I chose to go into Lord Knight X directly instead of just going to Lord Knight and just play a body just for the sake of it. But that's the whole reason, and to make sure that we stop that. And that turn was really crucial because it bought us another potential turn, and now we can climb up our Ghazi into a whole other Cerberus X. And that's the also other reason why you guys may have noticed I kept the Ruin Mode in my hand, not trashing it away, because in this matchup, it can really just shut off the deck for 1 whole turn or even potentially 2 turns, which is really, really massive. And that can just basically give us the easy win button against this matchup. So here they're forced to push out that pile, they're forced to digivolve in the back prior, and they're here trying to needing to cycle and continue to play, and they're going to go ahead and attack our security with jamming and draw a bunch of cards. I kept the Cerberus X out there because I'm not too specifically worried if they would deal with it, because again, I want to go into a level 6 when it's kind of like meaningful, such as that Lord Knight, when I could play a body my turn and keep that body sort of like, and keep the turn and have that body to be utilized for extra attacks to chunk down the security. Notice how I did chunk down 2 security, and we kind of got lucky there because we didn't give them any Davis and Kens. But that's the moment where I realized, okay, I gotta stop afterwards. I can't just continue to chunk them just because I can, because then if I do give them a Davis and Ken, everything can just absolutely turn around. And stripping sources is really good against our deck because it plays around our proto form. They have potentially go into fighter mode. Dragon mode stops us as well in terms of like trying to proto form and digivolve by effects. We do play wisdom training as well at the same time, so they're all digivolve by effects. We play Digimon by effects as well, so dragon mode can really sort of turn the tables around against us. And again, with fighter mode bottom decking, we just lose our stacks right here, which is not the worst because with proto form we continue to recover, and the fact that they did get rid of everything in this moment seems to be pretty good for them. But I'm actually not worried at all now at this point because the fighter mode is already there. The only thing is potentially like a paladin mode ace, but if I don't go wide enough and I don't give them like stuff to bottom deck on the board, then I'm also pretty safe from it. So all I have to worry about is to deal with that fighter mode. And the only thing I'm scared of is if they are able to establish a Davis Ken quick enough and they can DNA into a whole other stack and then have a dragon move sitting there, that will be problematic. So I kind of prioritize like, okay, you know what? I need to digivolve at the back a little bit and try to set up my next prior turn. So then I could actually go and digivolve up the line and get rid of that fighter mode ace and get ace overflow. Again, not having the dragon mode present on the board makes it a lot easier for us. So here, it would have been nice if we were able to establish like another purple memory boost or at least even like a wisdom training to climb up even further, aside from just other than just playing that Gobble X, because I don't really necessarily need to search. They have to attack into us because they need to apply pressure, because if they don't, then we're going to start for a bigger clapback. And this is crazy. One memory with a level 4 is all I need to actually just deal with this board and potentially actually go for a lethal attack. So I'm going to continue to climb up as per usual, draw in trash cards, play cards back, and I really personally like the Labra, just because I personally also still value the Anubis a lot, Anubis being an incredibly powerful card alongside with LordKnightmon X, which is kind of like one of the other really busted cards out there. It's just such great synergy, incredibly efficient and powerful with all the tools I need. So I'm contemplating how I want to get into this. I definitely want to get into Lord Knight X at some point, but I want to establish a wide board first, because for a wider board that I have, the more I can de-digivolve their stack. And I want to de-digivolve it all the way through as much as I can, gain the ace overflow, and I can just swing off that rookie and just deal with it. And then we can potentially even finish the game off here, thanks to Cerberus X and thanks to the whole alliance package combo, piercing, everything. This is why this card is so insane, and the whole deck really just needs that top end and we can just finish it off. For this next match, we're going to be playing against Black Hybrids, Mercurymon, Shadow Seraphi, and of course alongside with the Mother Control, Mother Shoto. So in this matchup, it can go either way. We did play a couple of games, and from my experience, what I noticed is that if they're able to establish their Shotos, especially with their memory setter ties to give the DP buffs, it becomes very difficult. And the longer the game goes, the better it is for them, because they're a really strong late game deck. And they're really good at really just trying to control the board and make it as slow as possible. And the more Shotos they see and the more mothers they're able to bring out, and as it goes, again, like I mentioned, it becomes very difficult for us to actually overcome all of those blockers. But there's actually one thing that really gives us the edge, and that is Lord Knight X itself, because of its collision and piercing, as well as most importantly the alliance, so that we're ensuring we can get extra DP buffs to go over it. As a matter of fact, if we're able to establish 2 Lord Knight X's on the board, we're going to gain even more DP, just because Lord Knight X spreads the DP across all of our LordKnightmons, which is absolutely insane. The other thing that we're trying to work off is we want to be able to build our stack as optimally as possible, so we can take our time a little bit in the early stages. We don't mind them chipping away. They don't really have any explosive damage when it comes to what they can sort of attack. They're really attacking one at a time, playing one body per turn, sort of one card at a time. So we can actually utilize the boost, use our draw efficiency to cycle and find the cards that we really want to have and build the best possible stack we can. I'm not really worried about the mothers at the moment, just because they don't have a lot of tamers established just yet. If they do, that becomes a bit of a problem, but my main priority right here is actually more of the bodies. I'm afraid of the potential aces. I'm afraid of the potential that they climb into their 5s and they can potentially find more tamers that way, because they can go into cards like Mamemon or even like Edemon to force us to attack and remove and control us that way, and we don't want to let them have any of that whatsoever. So that's why I went for the Levia here, and popping 2 bodies in one go is just great, and we get to gain that memory back, effectively making it a 3-cost Digi and keeping turn even, and we can continue to like cycle through and potentially build another stack. Of course, we want to be as aggressive as possible when we can, so we want to turbo all the way up. With the help of the wisdom training we have set up already and the 2 purple boosts, I can confidently say that we can actually go all the way up very, very quickly, so that we can actually get rid of that Mercurymon. First of all, it's really important to get rid of their side bodies as well while we're at it. And then we can go into Cerberus. Cerberus can go into Cerberus X, and we can even play a body back out from trash, which is going to be any level 3 that we want. And either I can sort of go for Psych or Gazi at this moment, and it really doesn't matter too much because I don't feel like they have either sort of like Flight Gate countermeasures. I don't think they really gain that much memory off of FX. I guess Psychmon could be the better play just because they could potentially play Death X to deal with wide boards. So notice here, the Cerberus was supposed inheritable. Cerberus was supposed to give Rush to the Gazi, and I put it upside down just to know that I can't attack with it. And I mistakenly thought Cerberus was a Yume effect, so I can give it to Delta. But here it doesn't really matter, because what I would have done is I would have done it differently, where I would have swung in a different order and I would end up just deleting my Delta, give my Gazi Rush anyways, and then go for the checks, because here at this moment I want to just try to finish it off in this particular turn, and I know I can because I have all that memory, which is really important. If we have that explosiveness, might as well it's the race to go into it, and that's how you want to beat Mother Control with this particular deck, which honestly is not much of a problem for it, and you guys can see how we can consistently get it. So just keep a note, the Cerberus X supposedly can't attack, but it would have actually been the Gazi, and I would have actually deleted the Deltamon instead to unsuspend with Cerberus X inheritable. Because here at this moment, I'm going to go ahead and go for alliance checks again. That Mother's block is not going to get any additional DP or whatever. We can go over easily because Lord Knight itself is 15k anyways. The 2 checks is going to take down almost anything. And we can actually just attack with the Levia. And again, once that Cerberus X should have been Gazi, and we finish the game off like that. Don't forget to grab the Spirit Transcendence collection on the AVAULT store right now, as we have limited quantities. As always, thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video. And this is AVAULT signing